In this video, I'd like to introduce you to radians. Radians is just an alternative way to measure angles, and it's actually, when you're used to it, actually a little bit easier than working with degrees. So what you need to know is that pi radians is the same thing as 180 degrees. And if you know that, then you'll be able to convert back and forth. So you can do it by setting up a ratio and cross multiplying it. That's the way I'm going to do it, but there are other ways to go about doing it. So for example, if we wanted to turn 85 degrees, we want to change it to radians. So I'm just going to say change to radians. I don't know why I wrote it like that, but all I'm asking is to change 85 degrees to radians. So you can set it up like like a proportion here. So 85 out of 180 is the same thing as saying some unknown amount of radians over pi. So part over whole is equal to part over whole. And then you can cross multiply to figure it out. So when you cross multiply, you get 85 times pi is equal to, you cross multiply this way, and you get 180 times x. And we want to know what x is, how many radians. So you get that x is 85 pi over 180. And then we can go ahead and reduce that. So we can divide by the common factor. I think the biggest common factor here is probably 5. So when we divide the top by 5, we get 17. And we divide the bottom by 5, we get 36. So x is equal to 17 pi over 36 radians. So that's how you change from degrees into radians. And changing from radians into degrees, very similar. You can still set up the proportion, but I'll show you an example. Okay, so in this example, we're being asked to change radians into degrees. In my last proportion, I set it up without showing you the units. I think it might actually be a little bit clearer if I show you the units here. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's use the word part over whole. So part over whole equals part over whole. That's just an awesome way to set up any proportion where you're dealing with parts and wholes. So we have as the radians, a part is the pi over 3 over the whole, which is pi. So that's the radian side. So I'm doing the same thing I did before, but I'm putting down the units so you can see exactly what's happening. Is equal to part over whole. So part, we want to know how many degrees you get over the whole, which is 180. And now we are ready to cross multiply. So on the left we get x times pi is equal to, and on the right we get 180 pi over 3. Alright, so now we're just solving for x, so we can divide both sides by pi. And we get that x is equal to, the pi's cancel, and we get 180 over 3, which is just actually 60 degrees. So 60 degrees is the same thing as pi over 3.